how do you currently spend your time? Now, if you're serious about having a career as an orchestra teacher, consider tracking your time throughout the week. Whatever you're doing, just write down what you're doing and how much time you're spending doing it, whatever that is. You know, it's like, I checked Instagram, I went to the restroom, I ate lunch, I taught this class, I did this, and just kind of see what you're doing throughout the day. And then at the end of the week, go back and look through it and ask yourself, does this stuff make sense, or could I rework this to be better? I guess the most important thing that you can get out of it is trying to figure out if there are things that you can cut out of your schedule that are just an absolute waste of time. I'm a list person. I like to make lists. I think making lists get me organized and they make me more efficient, and they end up saving me time. Now, I don't put everything on the list, okay? My rule is that if it takes me longer to write something down on the list than it does to complete the task, just complete the task. Don't write it on the list. Just go do it right away. Little tiny things that you need to get done that take almost no time at all, just go do them, okay, instead of writing them down on the list. Once you get your list made up, then you got to learn how to prioritize what you're going to do. So first of all, what's urgent? What's time sensitive? What do you have to get done by a certain time? Okay, that stuff is going to probably take the most priority. Then you're going to have to reorder the other stuff, like what is important. Well, sometimes that's hard to know. Like, well, what is important? I have no idea what's more important than this or that. And what is on this list that is particularly stressful? You know, what's on this list that I really don't want to do? Those are good things to identify too. You know, Mark Twain has a famous quote where he says, if you're going to eat a frog, eat the frog in the morning. Meaning that if there's something that you don't want to do, just get it out of the way and do it, because then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, I'm from Louisiana, and I love frogs. I love frogs' legs. They're delicious. I would much rather eat my grandma's frog legs than I would go to KFC any day of the week. So I'm just saying that Mark Twain expression doesn't work on me, but I get the point anyway. You know, if there's something that's particularly stressful that I don't want to do, I always do that one first. There's usually a few items on the list that takes 5 to 10 minutes, and it's great to identify those too, because sometimes you've got 5 minutes here, you got 10 minutes here, you got 15 minutes. You could just get a few things done, look at your list, and it's like, where are my short time tasks? And you know, you can get one of these done here, one of these done here, and just check them off the list. Okay, now let's go to the tasks that take a long time to do. So how are we going to solve those issues too? That's not something that you can just check off the list, okay? Are you able to take that task and split it up into smaller tasks so that you can turn part of it into a 5 to 10 minute thing? Is there anything about that task that you could delegate to somebody else? And we're going to have a video on how to delegate in the next segment, but is there anything about that task that somebody else could do so that you don't have to do all of it? Do you know how to scale? Okay? Do you know how to take a task and you've got these great ambitions for it, but it's going to take a lot of time and you don't have that time, and so you got to scale back. Maybe it's not quite as good, but stop being a perfectionist. Just get your work done. Or is there a way you can simplify the task? There's something called the Pareto principle, and some people call this the 80-20 principle, although the 80-20 ratio I don't think is as magical as people claim. But Pareto studied wealth distribution and figured out that the richest people hold the greatest amount of wealth, you know, so like 20% of the people hold 80% of the wealth would be the 80-20 distribution. But the thing about Pareto is that we can apply this to learn how to scale on things, okay? So I'm gonna give you an analogy about the time I bought my first house. Now, I bought a house and it was a fixer-upper, okay? I liked this house, I liked the area, but the only way I could afford it is if I did the repairs myself, Okay, so they let the leaves accumulate in the gutters, and so the rain came in and got, all the moisture got trapped in the gutters, and then, part of the roof rotted and the soffits rotted underneath, and there was a lot of stuff, and I had to replace the siding and all this kind of stuff. So, I pulled all that off, and then when I was done, I had to replace it all and replace the trim, and then I had to repaint the house, right? Which was good because it was this ugly, like, yellow color, and so I got to paint it like a normal person color. I mean, it was the worst color ever. I mean, picture the inside of a newborn's diaper, okay? That color yellow. So how does the Pareto principle apply here, okay? So 20% of the time that I painted the house, okay, just laid down the paint, I painted 80% of the house, more or less, right? Just got a nice big paintbrush and just went and painted all over the place, okay? And then the last 20% of the house took me 80% of the time, okay? I wanted the trim to be white, and I wanted the siding to be stone gray. But I didn't want the stone gray to get on the trim, and I didn't want the white to get on the siding. So I had to use painter's tape, and I had to be very careful, and I had to use a smaller brush. So that last 20% took 80% of my time. So if I were to scale, and I would say, hey, I don't really care if this looks sloppy, I just need my house painted, ready to go. Now, it's my house, right? And it was my first house. So of course, I did all the work. But not every project that you're doing is your house, right? Sometimes we can scale back from things. Stop being a perfectionist. Stop being a perfectionist. That's to me. I'm talking to myself here. How important is this task, and can you scale? And that last 20%, is it worth 80% of your effort? Maybe 10% of it is, how do you scale to make it fit your schedule? Or think about it this way, okay? Is there something else that's on your task list that's much more important and that's much more urgent, that takes priority over the scale of this larger project? Okay, frame it that way. So how do you determine how important a task is? Well, think about who's going to see it and what they're going to do with it. Okay, so I always think about like my t-test growth measure, okay? How long do they spend looking at the t-test growth measures? Like a minute, 30 seconds? I could write all day long and create the most eloquent and beautifully worded, iambic pentameter, but again, they're just going to skim it, sign it, they're done with it. So for me, it's not worth my time if it's not worth their time, right? Think about the Office Space TPS reports.
Real quick question here. How much time would you say you spend each week dealing with these TPS reports?
So if it's not worth your time, that's when you really want to scale. Put as little effort into it as possible just to get it off your list, because it doesn't benefit anybody. You're just looking to be checked off of somebody else's list, all right? Now, what you need to do for stuff like this, and the more I teach, the more of these, little tasks that I have to do, where I have to document this and document that. What you need to do is generate a list of educational buzzwords, okay? And then with those buzzwords, you make something called word salad. Now, word salad is almost a randomized positioning of educational buzzwords in an extremely vague and almost unintelligible setting. And you kind of use the legalese, teacherese type of language, the student growth measures determine the success rate of a student's ability and practicality of particular tasks assigned to. See, I'm saying nothing right now. Okay, think of President Ronald Reagan. Looks great while he's speaking, but if you read the transcripts, you have no idea what that guy was saying. So, just a bunch of teacher speak, word salad, just get it done. It shouldn't take you more than a few seconds. Have your list of buzzwords and use that list wisely. It's what's going to get you through it quickly. Again, there's going to be more and more of this stuff every year, and For a lot of people, it's really overwhelming and they're going to get stressed out. But don't let it stress you out, because you've got that word salad, you know how to get through it quickly, and you know that nobody's going to read it. In the next episode, we're going to learn how to delegate, and we're going to learn that the more that you scale back, the more other people are going to step up and improve the quality of things that they can do that you don't necessarily need to do. So we'll see you in the next one.